morning.
Sound of our teen sports listeners. I'm your host, Erica, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
Every single Tuesday.
9 a.m.
Welcome to Teen Sports Radios, where minds, bodies, and community come together. Today, we're rolling out yoga mats, serving up nutrition tips, hotter than power smoothies, okay? And diving deep into the real health hacks teens need. Whether you're stretching into a warrior pose, fueling up with clean food, or just chilling with friends around the hooga of conversation, we've got you back. Because here, every breath, every bite, and every laugh is about living stronger, healthier, and wiser. This is Teen Sports Radio. Let's inhale the good and exhale the stress. And let's just get started. The big topic of the week this week, of course, did we ever lose a huge community leader here a week ago? And the outpouring of love, I just wanted to, we're talking about Charlie Kirk here, and the outpouring of love around the world for a man who started a movement with the young has been absolutely incredible. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you were on. I mean, what the man did for the world and for kids and for just to try to get us back to talking. Okay, I don't know of anybody that's going to give you a mic when somebody who is absolutely contrary to everything that you stand for. And he gave that person, come in the front. Okay, that's the thing that I like. I didn't believe everything the guy said, but yeah, I followed him for 6 years. And what happened was I cried. It was horrible. And what I want people to understand is like, this isn't to stop anybody from talking, because it doesn't matter what administration that's in charge, they're going to try to suppress speech if it doesn't follow their policy. So, you have to pay attention to that. I remember going back to 2018 with John. He went to a Catholic school, Holy Names, and they tried to do, this big circle thing, and you had to go around and say what you couldn't stand about Donald Trump. And he called me up. He goes, Mom, he was very upset. And he goes, I'm going to get my first B in college. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, because I wasn't going to do it. So I said, what did you do? He goes, I stood up and I walked out of the classroom. I said, fantastic, bravo. And I said, this is what I want you to do. Understand, John, if they would have circled around and said Hillary, I want you to walk out there too. Like, this is not okay. Okay. It doesn't matter who it was. I do not want, a thing to be suppressed. It's about the ability to be able to speak and honor that, and I know Emily and I have talked about it this week. Dominique and I actually did a podcast on it, on Spill the Tea, our other podcast, Spill the Tea with D&E. Dominique.
Yeah, the importance of free speech. It doesn't, and especially for our comedians, we're not for shutting anyone down. We encourage teens to encourage discourse and free speech.
It's very important to speak your mind. I know it's pressure. I know you got to stand up for things, and you're going to get, it's tough, but something that's going to build courage.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It does take courage. There are ways to communicate. Mm-hmm. I think of compassionate communication. I think of getting in touch with your feelings and needs so we are not attacking the other and we're not deprecating ourselves, right? That we can build bridges of communication through our feelings. I feel this way. I need to be heard, right? So it's so important. And if we can open our hearts to one another, the communication can flow much more peacefully and harmoniously. And that's what we need to change the world.
I mean, look at it like this. We're all mentors on this show. We have such vast differences. We're on different sides of everything, but we all love each other. There's this thing where, Alex can say something to me and I hear you, I see you. And Richard and I have had millions of hours of conversations on things. Richard, I hear you, I see you. Yes. Okay. Don, what say you?
Yeah, I agree. It's important to keep having dialogue. You can't just wall yourself off. And it's always going to create value to, be inclusive and to get to know somebody and to see, where's their heart at.
Yeah, it's important. Alex.
Yeah, open dialogue, communication's key. I think as teens, even though you can't vote, it doesn't mean your voice isn't heard. Speak up. Don't be afraid to talk, speak your mind. But yeah, I think it's important to get perspective too. You never know what the other person's going through.
Exactly.
And why they think the way they think, or why they're, have certain opinions and certain perspectives. I think it's tough. It's hard. You got to take emotion out of it sometimes and just think logically, like, oh man, they've had it rough. They live in a different state. They maybe were impoverished, and I'm over here in Santa Barbara, not really struggling all that much, or just getting by just fine. So speak your mind. Don't be afraid. Kids, it's okay to speak up. Don't harbor your feelings. Speak up.
Very important. Very, very important. And I can understand you want to pick your battles. If 9 people in the room are one way and you're that 1 in 10, maybe that's not the place right there. Okay, but there's other places you can go to, like don't hold it in. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and writing down.
Yeah, yeah.
Journaling, like, wow, I was in this situation and I didn't agree, and my gut told me something. And I was like, but if you're writing it down, you know what? I believe differently. That's a way to get your voice out there too. And then maybe the next time you'll be like, hey, actually, I have a different perspective. This is how I see it. Could you share with me a little bit more of where you're coming from, and maybe we can understand each other better?
Look at how many songs have been written.
Oh, yes.
Right.
And in true dialogue, you have to be willing to be changed by the experience.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to be open to change for sure. Changing your perspective. Absolutely.
Yeah. How many times have we swapped monologues? We haven't actually had a dialogue. I really appreciate that, Dawn.
Very well put. It's just, I just look at, we're all community leaders here. The show is built on community, building community, helping the next generation fold into community. And I just want it understood that we're not a sided community. We're one of truth, and we're one of speak your mind. And if something's not okay, vent that. And there's different portals you can use. And I love what Em just said. Like, you can write a song, you can write it down. You just don't hold it in because that's just not an okay thing. So yeah, I want to get that out. So yeah, anybody else, Dominique?
Yes, lots of love to our community.
Yeah. You wanna be able to put it out there. Start with empathy. Start with love. And it'll make the path a lot smoother. Speaking of love and empathy, let's shift over more and let's talk about community. And Dominique, who do you want to give some love to this week?
Yes. There is an apothecary shop in downtown Santa Barbara that I'd like to give a shout out to. It's called Pura, Pura, Luna Women's Apothecary, and it's on Chapala Street. It's 633 Chapala Street. And if you've never walked into an apothecary shop, I just want to tell teens it's quite an experience. You'll have interesting smells, and you'll see interesting things, and there'll be interesting things to read. But those shops these days, apothecary shops, are usually focused on herbs and things that are healthy, that help make our bodies healthy and lighten up our minds. So I want to encourage teens to go visit an apothecary shop.
Nice. Okay, we've only got a minute. Alex, shoot me one.
What was that? Oh, I'm sorry. Lily's Tacos. I've talked about it again. It's a tradition for me. Every Thursday, we like to go to Lily's Tacos after stadiums, and it's just
yum.
It's on my brain all the time. I can't stop thinking about food. You know how I am, so I'm always promoting food.
Food is good. Don Sanders.
Speaking of food, I'll give a shout out to Farmer and the Cook here in Miners Oaks in Ojai. And for those who have lived long enough, it sort of gives you a flavor of the 60s. But it's great food, great chai, nice atmosphere. Always fun to go over there and have a burrito. And on some of the hot days, we've been having a iced chai.
Nice. Beautiful. All right. Hey, I just want to give a shout out to all the coaches out there. They're all rolling up. They're all putting in that effort. Hey, if you're a parent, go up to the coach, all right? I'm not saying to give him anything, but just give him your love and say, hey, I really appreciate it. I see you. What you're doing it takes a lot of time and a lot of work, and I appreciate you and thank you so much. That just means that's just huge for somebody who coached for 28 years. When a parent came up to me and said that to me, I mean, it just made my day. All right, Emma, you ready?
I am ready.
All right,
yes.
She's got her mat. She's ready. We'll be back with more after these messages.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m.
Welcome back to Teen Sport Radio. This is Sarathina on the Yogic Path. Yes, some of you may recognize my voice as Emily the Songbird, teaching you tips on your musical path, but this summer, I took an amazing adventure to the Bahamas to get certified as a yoga instructor through the Shivananda Vedanta Yoga Retreat Center. And I lived in a tent for a month and became a part of this spiritual community. And I wanted to share the experience that I had with you. So through this experience, I shifted more into the true spiritual being that I am, and I gave her a name. Her name is Sarathina, and Sarathina is a combination of Athena, the Western Greek goddess of wisdom, and also Sarathina, who is the Hindu goddess, Indian goddess of creativity, music, arts, and wisdom. So, wanted to share about my journey. And what I learned about yoga is that it's not just exercise. It, too, is a path to deepen your connection with your most authentic self. And so the word yoga means to unite. And so you're uniting through these certain postures or asanas through breath and movement. And it's union with your higher self. It's union with the spirit of all creation, the universe, the energy, however you define that, ineffable quality, that something that animates and activates us all, and also that loving energy that we are. So today I'm going to introduce you to the 5 points of yoga. The analogy that we were taught, and this is a great one for teens, is that these 5 points are the way that we maintain the vehicle, which is the body that houses our soul or our spirit. And it's also can be compared to maintaining a car. So as a teenager, one of the most exciting things I remember is getting my license and being able to drive. And I did get a car at a certain point, but then I needed to learn how to take care of it. So taking care of the car requires 5 different systems. And so these are compared to the 5 points of yoga. We need to take care of that body and take care of that car. So according to Swami Vishnu Devananda, who was the one who founded the ashram in the Bahamas, there are 5 points of yoga and 5 systems to take care of that car. So the first one is proper exercise, or what I'd like to call inspired exercise. And these are the asanas that we do to lubricate our bodies, our joints, our ligaments. And this is like with the car, the oil that you use. You need to change your oil so that your system, so everything moves smoothly. You need to make sure you have water in the car. And so this lubrication helps for the car to go. Same with our bodies, right? Daily exercises, or these exercises, these asanas, are designed to help lubricate the system. The second one is proper breathing, which is it's called pranayama, and there's exercise that that it's so important to do what's called diaphragmatic breathing, which is a way that we breathe with our diaphragm to clear out the excess oxygen in our lungs. And so oftentimes when we breathe, we don't breathe fully. There's many different types of pranayama or exercise. There's pranayama to activate our system and to energize. So if you're feeling sluggish, there's certain exercise to do that. There's also exercise to calm down our nervous system. And so there are techniques that I will go over with you, but that proper breathing is connects with the battery or the solar plexus where our energy is stored, and we want to get connected with that. The third one is proper relaxation or savasana. And that cools down the system like the radiator of our car. So we need to relax, and oftentimes, like if we don't relax fully, it's hard to sleep and it's hard to get, we end up being in an anxious state. So proper relaxation is really a wonderful thing to do. We do that in yoga. It's called savasana. And one simple thing you can do at night is to relax is just practice some of these breathing techniques and put your legs up the wall. So if you breathe deeply, and if you're envisioning a sports event, I remember like, oh my gosh, I have a track meet the next day. You can use some visualization as well, and just, imagine your body working as efficiently as possible to win the race. Yes. The next one is proper diet, or giving the correct fuel for the body. We focus on the food, the air, the water, and sunlight as all part of that. And the last one is positive thinking and meditation for the steadiness and concentration of the mind. And this is having a responsible driver. And this is the very most important part, right? Is that you are responsible as the driver of the car. So the more focused and steady you can be in your concentration, the better driver you're going to be. So to end today, I would like us to do a simple exercise. And if you are driving, please keep both hands on the wheel. If not, you can go ahead and raise your hands up nice and high. And right now it's the morning and the sun is out after a little bit of a rainstorm, and greet the sun. Bring your hands back into a little bit of a back bend. You can bring your head back very gently and then bring your hands to your heart center. And as we do this, we're going to inhale as our arms come up and greet that sun. Surya Namaskar is our sun salutation. And then bring the hands down to the heart as you exhale. And we're going to try this one more time. And we inhale, we're going to say, and you can say it out loud or to yourself, I am, as you inhale. Bring those arms up and then bring them down to the heart center. Peace, right? So I am, inhale, exhale, peace. And you can do that all day long. You can do it before a test, before a sports event, because truly when we get in touch with the peace that we are, our life, our vehicle will flow through life in a peaceful way. And we need peace and harmony and love in our hearts and in our world. This is Sarathina, blessing you with a beautiful day, and namaste.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m.
We're back. Alex Ramirez is next, but I'm looking at Emily. She's rolling up the mat. She's like, oh my goodness, she's a little songbird. She wants to fix something. And what? What is
oh
it?
Oh my gosh, Erica. So this little bird, the songbird, came in and was like telling me when I was going through the proper breathing technique, she's like, no, I said that it was exhaling oxygen, but you don't exhale oxygen, you exhale carbon dioxide.
Oh.
And so the little bird was like, remember, that's how you sing. You inhale, you take a nice diaphragmatic breath, and then you sing your most beautiful song, and then you exhale the carbon dioxide. So she wanted to tell me that.
There you go. Well, thankfully, Fit for Life is up next. Alex Ramirez, Okay, he knows that because you need to use the breath when you're lifting, pushing, working out. So you don't exhale oxygen, do you, Alex?
No, we got to breathe that bad boy in and exhale the CO2. That's right. It would be interesting. But here we go. Yes. And I'll tie into actually breathing. There's a little bit here with nutrient dense foods. We've been talking about it. Dominique has mentioned it a couple of times. And so I just want to dive into it and share the info of what they actually are. And so what they are is foods that provide high amounts of essential nutrients like vitamins, minerals, protein, fiber, healthy fats with relatively very few calories. So they give you a lot with very little calories. And so berries, citrus fruits, leafy greens, broccoli, carrots, tomatoes. Then you have some grains like brown rice, quinoa, oats, whole wheat bread. Proteins like chicken, fish, eggs, even lentils, right? Beans are great. Almonds, we get into the nuts now. Walnuts, chia seeds are amazing if you like them. Sunflower seeds are great. Low fat and skim milk, yogurt, non-fat plain Greek yogurt is always a good choice. Dark chocolate, olive oil, and avocado. And so the benefits, why is this important? Sky was talking about it, tying into health and what is wellness and being healthy, and it provides nutrients for basic bodily functions. It helps with weight management, providing satiety and with very few calories. It reduces risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. It will improve your immune system function and cognitive ability. And the most important for kids, I believe, the vitamins and minerals that really, that look into the development of children, teens especially, is vitamin D, iron, and zinc. And with vitamin D, I'll hit on those real quick. You can find those in tuna, eggs, mushrooms, OJ, or cow's milk. With iron, you can find that in red meat, vegetables, fortified foods. Fortified foods just means it's infused with something like rolled oats could be infused with a little bit of iron, right? Zinc, you can find that in shellfish, chicken, beans, nuts, dairy, eggs, vegetables, and more oats. And the reason you want those, vitamin D is great for bone health, immunity, muscle, nerves, cell growth development, zinc as well, cell growth development, division, and differentiation. It also ties into bone health, muscles, and immunity. And then iron, talking about the hemoglobin and breathing. If you're deficient in iron, you can become anemic. You're not getting all that oxygen delivered properly. So it's a key component to hemoglobin that's found in the red blood cells that arrives or that brings oxygen to the lungs and all around distributed to the whole body. So it's important to get that iron. And like I said, you can find iron in a whole lot of shellfish, proteins, beans, vegetables. I mean, from the foods you just heard, you're just picking and choosing. I think one of the easiest things for kids to do nowadays is breakfast, little Greek yogurt with some berries, maybe a little chia seeds, and hard-boiled eggs out the door, and you're good. Anyone else?
Woo, Dot.
It was a lot of info. Sorry.
No, love that. I'm always like, when I go to compose a meal in the kitchen, I'm always thinking food groups and nutrients. I don't go by recipe books, and I'm going to leave it to somebody else to explore all the the methods of different cuisines of different countries. But I go for the things on your list.
I like that. This is Dominique. I go for grapes. And part of the reason why grapes is my fast go-to for good nutrients, I think teens don't realize how important vitamin C is. And munching on a few grapes is a fast way to get some vitamin C.
Very hydrating as well.
This is a good time to crack open that we're milling our own wheat. No, Dominique?
Your own wheat? Nice.
Yeah, we're milling the wheat for our sourdough so that we get the bran and the wheat germ in the wheat. Because when you buy the flour in the store, there's some parts of that wheat kernel that get removed so that the flour lasts longer. So to have a truly whole food, you sort of have to start with the whole food, which is the wheat kernel.
And let me tell you something, it's a workout. And if you're living with your grandparents wants to jump in there, make sure they got their Apple Watch on. Okay?
Also, watermelon is a tremendous way to rehydrate and restore yourself after exertion.
Yes.
Yeah. Hot summer days, get that watermelon for sure.
Yes. Dominic, real quick, explain why milling your own wheat, because nobody's doing it but us on most beliefs. Why is it so important?
Well, you're working with a live food, and in particular in sourdough, teens should know that it is gathering yeast from the air and also from the wheat kernel. And then the bacteria, it's grabbing bacteria from the air and also from your hands. And the mixture of the bacteria and the yeast fermenting makes a very wholesome food that your digestion, that your internal mechanism, we recognize, our gut recognizes whole food sourdough bread and digests it perfectly.
Tell what we did. We learned to hack with the butter. Frozen butter, and that was like amazing. Oh my God.
Well, so we talked about it a little bit. There's a element C15 in regards to studying the dolphins. They found that your grass-fed butter has a critical new fatty acid, well, new to us because we didn't recognize it, called C15, that is super helpful for teens and everybody. So having that healthy grass-fed butter, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so we grate it in there and it comes out like croissant-like. So that's all I got to say right now, because guess who? Sky is in the house and he's in finals. So we got to go. So fill up your coffee. We'll be back with Sky after these messages.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m.
Welcome back to Teen Sports Radio, everyone. This is Sky Ellsworth, and I'm a student at Life Chiropractic College West. And as always, I am thrilled to be with you here today, talking about some revolutionary health and wellness topic that we can dive into to try and help everybody ascend to the next level. We have the world that we're living in is moving into the second tier of consciousness, as we talked about a little bit last week. And in the past few weeks, we've talked a little bit about archetypes as a follow-up to the 12 stages of healing. So if you haven't listened to those, please go back and listen to them. And today I want to just zoom out. So we've looked at a bunch of these things up close. But why? Why is it that all of these things matter? And what it occurred to me is that we've never had a conversation before about what healing and health actually are. So I want to dive into that today. Where do we want to start? Okay. Let's start with what is healing. And I think this is a topic that is really hot on the presses lately with RFK making a bunch of incredible changes to try and improve our overall health as a nation, the foods that we eat. But I think it's really important for each and every one of us to understand what health is so that we can really look after our own health. And I think the common misconception in society, and this is part of the first tier consciousness approach that we talked about last week, is that it's very one-dimensional, so that health and healing is the absence of disease. Well, what about if it was more than that? We also talked a little bit last week about shifting perspectives. So if health is the absence of disease, which I think we can all agree it is that, but what else is it? Could it be more than that? So I decided to do a little bit of research, and I looked up the World Health Organization definition of health. And I didn't write it down. I don't remember it exactly off the top of my head. But what was interesting and what was really, I think, incredible is that the World Health Organization was defining health as not just the absence of disease, but as a state of mental, social, emotional, and physical well-being. So it actually is incorporating a sense and idea of beingness. So it's not just, okay, healthy is not having disease. It's also, how do I feel emotionally? What is my life like? What is my overall satisfaction with my life? Am I experiencing the things that I want to experience? And yeah, this does extend to the physical domain, but it goes beyond that. It goes into the state of mind and how you're actually feeling about how you're feeling. A whole nother perspective. So, going further with this, in our quest to always be experiencing more, it's a good practice to start becoming aware of where we place limits on even the most basic and fundamental concepts. For me, as a future healthcare professional, it's a great idea to understand what our outcomes are for our practice, for the patients that we're working with. And this applies to you too, in whatever you decide to do. What limits do you have on what's possible, and what is your overall objective? When it comes to health, at least in school, we're never really taught what health is. We learn things like anatomy, physiology, disease, and eventually disease care. In this model, we create for ourselves the assumption that, like we were talking about a moment ago, health is just the absence of disease. But if I question that, are there limitations to that? And how can I ask myself some important questions to really get at what health is? Is health solely a physical experience? Can health be a mental or social experience, an emotional one? What if health and disease were not opposites, but two sides of the same coin? What if disease is a process of healthy transformation as an organism strives to maintain physical, psychological, and spiritual equilibrium? Perhaps it's a call for adaptation, a process by which higher levels of organization can be achieved. This changes things. If disease, then, isn't what made you ill, then treating it can't make you well. And getting someone back to where they were before they got sick won't work, because that particular state is what led them to getting sick in the first place. We have to change the question. So I want to ask each and every one of you to ask yourselves this: what does health mean to you? How do you know if someone is healthy? When you feel sick, what changes do you notice in your life, in your thoughts, in your emotions? And how do you know when you're better? So there were these guys, Wilson and Cleary, and they created this model that we use as a basis in network spinal a lot, where we actually start to look at some of the variables that lead to health, some of the variables particular to the individual, and some of the variables particular to the environment that the individuals are inhabiting. So I think we can all agree that a person's quality of life is important. So how can we look at what makes up quality of life? Well, we can talk about symptoms that you're experiencing, maybe changes in your personality, maybe what motivates you, maybe the things that you value, the things that you use for support psychologically, social economic supports, social psychological supports, and it goes on and on and on. And these can all interrupt life, which can interrupt function, which can interrupt your overall perception of your health, which then can impede quality of life. So how can we take that understanding and use this new idea about health to actually affect and change the health that we're currently experiencing? How can we look at personal life, adaptability, accomplishments, satisfaction with life, job, our significant other or romantic life, our physical appearance, the work that we've accomplished, our relationship to our coworkers, practices that promote health? How can we shift that to put those at the forefront? And how can we have a greater understanding and perspective and ceiling on possibility by looking at what lifestyle, wellness, and quality of life lend to improvement, lend to feeling the way that you want to feel? So, at the end of the day, all of this means that a patient's self-awareness, and this is not just a patient, but you as students, as teens, as athletes, your self-awareness is vital to making healthier choices and having an enhanced quality of life. What is self-awareness? Self-awareness is understanding, okay, I feel a certain way. Well, how do I feel about how I feel? Self-awareness is about recognizing when you're experiencing some sort of pain and what that pain actually means for you in your life. Is it just a physical pain, or is it a call for experiencing something more or something different in your life? If it's a call for transformation, pain is nothing but a message that something needs to change now. So I encourage you to all consider these things going forward and have a conception of health and everything that you're working towards in your life, instead of getting you back to the state that you were in before when you got sick, what healthcare calls a prior minimal state. How can you look at it in a way of reorganization, where yourself, your body, and your life are able to reorganize to a higher complexity and capacity so that you can thrive despite greater demands? This is health. All right. So, cool. Another fun shift in perspectives. I am so glad again to be here with you all today, and I am sure you will so enjoy what's coming up next. You guessed it, a Huga with Don Sanders.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m.
For Teen Sports Radio, I'm Don Sanders. DonsMassageOhio.com, 805-236-2684. Here to bring you a Huga, a kind of like a receiving a hug, a Scandinavian term for like a receiving a hug without the physical actual hug. And what I wanted to talk about a little bit was a character building. My Buddhist teacher drew from an old Greek story that was also utilized by a Japanese author. It was being taught in Japanese schools in 1956, the year I was born. It's called Run Melos. It's about these two friends, dear friends, Melos and Silentius. And they live in a kingdom, and they're outraged by their king's cruelness. And so Melos, sneaks in to confront him and is caught. And the king, he orders him to be crucified. So Melos asks that he get a reprieve to go home because his younger sister is getting married. So he has Silentius, his great friend, dearest friend, stand in for him, promises to return by the third sundown. And if he doesn't, then Silentius will be executed and Melos will go free. So he runs all night without sleep to the village where his sister lives. After this hasty wedding, he oversleeps some, gets a little rest, and then begins running like heck back to the castle. He swims across a flooding, muddy, raging river. He fights off mountain bandits. He falls to the ground exhausted. And in that moment, sometimes he feels like the futility of doing this, and that he may prove his faithfulness, his trust and his love for his good friend. So my mentor says the path of justice is always a struggle with one's own heart. So when he gets there and Silentius is just about to be killed, Silentius runs out into the execution ground and he calls out, hit me, Silentius, explaining that one moment along the way he had considered abandoning him. Silentius strikes Melos with all his might and cries, Melos, hit me, confessing that he too, for an instant, had doubted Melos's return. Melos strikes him and then the two embrace. Then the king, observing this, says, you have subdued my heart. Trust between people is not just an empty illusion. I too would like to be your friend. So in this example, my teacher was talking about Melos had triumphed over inner weakness. And he pointed out that if somebody takes a step in retreat, which we all want to do sometimes, then comes the logic of self-justification, leading to more retreat. And in the idle, like you can have some ease, you can feel like, oh, I just want to rest. But, if you've cast off your friends, if you haven't been true to to what your values are, then that causes a pain that you may never get right about. So, I want to see all the young people who tune in and listen here, athletes, non-athletes. I want you to be true to the mission, like the American philosopher Hillman writes, we're all like an acorn with the potential to become a mighty oak. But whether we do that or not, we will be tested many, many times to see if we're going to have the strength of our convictions or whether we're going to run away from them or just blow them off and think, oh, I don't really need to do that. So anyway, I hope you won't let life's temptations lead you down the wrong path. And I hope this is encouraging to you as you're finding your way along.
Nice.
That is so beautiful. Having faith in your convictions and allowing for dialogue to help you examine your convictions and grow and allow a breathing and an explosion of love. We really want to heal the planet with love and kindness.
Yeah, and remaining true to your vow or your values does not depend on what others do. It's you have to have the conviction to make your choice and stick by it.
Beautiful. Great show, everybody. Thank you so much. That's a wrap for today's Teen Sports Radio, where we stretch, fuel, and breathe our way to stronger lives. Remember, just like yoga, life is a balance. Just like your nutrition, it's about what you choose to put inside of you. Remember, the beginning of the show was all about our voice. Don't lose. Let's teens understand. Please find a path. Keep your voice. Find a path to not lose your voice. And just like gathering around the Hygge conversation, we share the matter most. Just keep sharing. So until next time, stay flexible, stay nourished, and stay connected. Inhale the good, exhale the stress. And remember, teens, I say this every week, you be you, because everybody else is taken. God bless. Signing off. See you next week.